Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2023 horror drama Godless, the Eastfield Exorcism. The film is directed by Nick Kozaskis and it stars Georgia Ayers, Dan Ewing and Tim Pocock. Right. The film is set in Australia and it focuses on a married couple, Lara and Ron. Now, Lara, it seems, has been struggling with her mental health for a long time. She's been let down by the health service, by health professionals. She never seems to get better. She only seems to get worse. And in actual fact, her husband is now, who's quite religious, very religious actually, believes she's actually possessed. And he's had it with these health professionals, and he basically is saying, right, can you just sign her off so that I can go down a different route? Because the church will not grant an exorcism until a health professional signs off the case. So he can't get the health professional to sign her off. So he kind of has to go down a different route to get an exorcism, and they bring on board Daniel James King, who is an outgoing, extrovert, arrogant exorcist who believes that he's doing God's work by exorcising demons from people, and he comes on board to help this married couple, but things don't exactly go as according to plan as you would think. Right, what are my thoughts on Godless, the Eastfield Exorcism? Well, this film has more in common with The Exorcism of Emily Rose and little bits of the third Conjuring film, you know, like the courtroom type stuff. And there's a real debate as to whether this is an actual fact a horror film at all. Some of the things that happen in this film are quite horrific. But the subject matter itself leans far more into mental health, domestic abuse, all these sort of things, to the point where it's one of those films, if you like, that by the end you can kind of come to your own conclusions, if you like. I think it leans quite heavily in one favour rather than another, whether it has actually happened or is she suffering with mental health or whatever. And I think it kind of, for me anyway, answered the questions for me, but it probably allowed many people to make their own interpretation. This is in fact based on a true story, so you can look this up and find out what happened, and it does explain that at the end of the film. I don't know, how close to the facts this film stays. I just know that at times this film is a real struggle to get through, and I don't mean that because it was dull or boring. I mean that because it was hard to watch in regards to what was taking place and the torture scenes, and because that's essentially what they become. And it's got some quite stirring visuals going on, but again, the health professional is diagnosing Laura with schizophrenia and all sorts of things. So the things that she's seeing, for example, she doesn't sleepwalk. She kind of naked goes into the garden, kind of dances with the devil, if you like. And you get to see what she sees, which is her dancing with the devil. Is it real, or is she suffering with mental health, and all this kind of stuff? And you do balance all this out, sort of thing, or the film tries to balance it all out for you. And at the very core of this film is some very impressive performances too. Everybody here gives a sterling performance. All the people feel real. I think Georgia Ayers, who plays Laura, is kind of head and shoulders above everybody else in her performance, because she has to give this real tortured, hurt, devastated performance of this woman who is in real crisis, in regards to what's going on with her, whether it be mental health, spiritual or demonic, and she balances that really, really well. And there's even a scene in the film where you get to see what happened to her in her past sort of thing, and it's just very, very hard to watch. So the film deals with things like loss, it deals with things like mental health, it deals with things like abuse, and it does it quite intensely. It's properly in your face. I mean, the scenes with this, I mean, Exorcist in most films are kind of portrayed as, the saving grace, and oh, the Exorcist is here, we're all saved and all this. No, not in this film. I mean, the guy, the Exorcist in this film, you just want to hit him because he's arrogant, he's abusive, and he's got everybody under his spell, if you like. These people, they think he's got this connection to God and all this kind of stuff, and he's this, is the real thing in regards to an exorcist, and everybody buys it, and everybody goes along with him, including you as an audience member, because you're kind of like, well, okay, I can tolerate this. It's hard to watch, but I'll tolerate it because the end goal is surely she's going to get exorcised. And then the next scene, you're kind of like, well, I'm not even sure she's possessed at all. So the film really gives you these dilemmas to think about while you're watching this. So my advice to anybody going into this film is don't go into this film thinking you're going in to watch an exorcism film. Go into this film thinking you're going to watch a character film, a film that's based on people, a film that deals with some very, very heavy issues, and there's, the general theme is around exorcism, because is it real? This kind of thing probably happens all the time where people, believe they've got a demon inside them, and some people will turn up and say, well, I can get rid of that demon for you, sort of thing, and then they believe them, and then terrible things happen. I'm sure this happens many times than we know about all across the world, and this film kind of tries to deal with that. It's not too bothered whether you believe it or not, whether she has got a demon or not. It's more interested in telling the story. And giving this poor woman, Laura, somewhere to kind of show what this poor woman went through. And it's a difficult film to watch at times, but it's also, I think, it's one of those films that's just not for everyone either. Horror fans going into this thinking, as I've said, you're getting a demonic possession film. They'll come out the other end and think, what have I just watched? That's not satisfying at all, even though there are some very, very impressive visuals in regards to their interpretation of what this demon looks like. It's something a little bit different. Like I say, it's along the lines of Exorcism of Emily Rose, that dealt with a real life case and there was a court battle. And while there's no court battle in this, it just kind of tell you about what happened after the incident, what happened to those involved. So yeah, I mean, if any of this sounds interesting, check it out. It's not an easy watch at times. It's not a comfortable watch, but it's a fascinating watch for those of you that are interested in like real life exorcisms, I suppose. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this review. I will of course be back with plenty more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.